Sure. Well, thank you for having me again, Juliana. Thanks, Matt, as well. Those who don't know me, my name is Schwartzen Precil. My friends call me Shway. I own a business, a publishing business, book publishing. Also work in the education field. I've been in the education field for 8 years. So I own my own consulting agency when it comes to partnering with schools in the social emotional learning field. So I've been in that field for 8 years. Before that, I was a professional athlete for 6 years, playing ball in 4 different countries and 2 years here in America. First of all, you guys voted for me last time when I was here, and I got Author of the Year finalist. So thank you for those who voted for me and everything like that. Essentially, I'm going to Hollywood to display some of the books, and I didn't see myself as an author per se. Again, as a spoken word artist, I say, I grew up in the Bronx by way of Staten Island as well. When you grow up on the block and you ain't want to be under the sheep on the flock, you was one of 2 things. You was sweep with the mic or you handled the rock. All right, and I'm not talking about the rock that you push, right? My way of getting out of my neighborhood, because there was a lot of gang culture, a lot of drugs, things like that, was dribbling a basketball. It was sports. That was the avenue that kept me away from the gangs. Almost juvenile detention at 14 years old, and I ended up meeting a coach who put me on the right path. And I didn't know what I wanted to do in college, and so I couldn't declare my major in basketball, but I was really good, and that's why I played pro. I got cut from a team in Spain, and it led me homeless, and because I didn't know my biological family at the time, and led me to write this book, Be Your Own Hero, turning obstacles into opportunities. This one went on, first it was like a diary kind of feel, journaling, healing, and put me in a place where I just need to find myself. Everyone has their own way, and so each book is a way of creating a better version of myself, being your own hero. This one, Empower Hero Within, is more of a curriculum for college students. When I finally did get to college and I did graduate with my bachelor's in business management, I figured, why not help brothers from the hood, in the same way, or sisters from the hood, from our neighborhood, the way I speak my language and my vernacular, right? And this one's for really literacy. This one's not out. This one's coming in Juneteenth. And then I helped other folks publish their own books. And so I learned the system, learned how to not have it whitewashed and things like that, with all respect. I learned that there's a self-publishing route, and I help other folks be their own publisher in their way. So whatever you want to do creatively, right, your passion, it's going to cost something. I worked at McDonald's when I was 15 through age 17. So even though I had class, school, I still worked my 5 p.m. to 9 p.m. When you get into the real world after 18, 19, 20, you can work a 9 to 5. I worked at Barnes & Noble while I was writing these books. I worked at Dick's Sporting Goods because I love the game. I love free sneakers and things like that. You work your 9 to 5, I always advise, until you can fund your 5 to 9, whatever that 5 p.m. to 9 p.m. time is, right? It's your dinner time. It's your leisure time. For fellas, probably the games. For the ladies, probably, whatever it is, social media. I cut all that out for years so that I can fund what it is that is essentially my vehicle now to get to me to where I want to be. And so I would say work it, whatever, there ain't no shame in working a job, especially, exactly. So don't let anybody tell you it's not okay to have a boss and things like that. It's all right. You gotta be an employee until one day you could be your own boss, and that's all right. So that's the route I take. Even when I was playing pro ball, I still was doing other jobs. I'm usually involved in multiple things, so that I can kind of stay active and stay out of trouble. So last week I was in Chicago for a Black Student Athlete Summit, and a former NFL player from Oakland, his name is Kevin Green. I ran into him, and he was, Kevin Green? Yeah, so we went to Bishop O'Dowd. And so running into him, again, a whole bunch of pro athletes, former pros, asking, as an athlete, again, you are designed and designated to have tunnel vision. You have a goal, your schedule is different from everybody else's. So whatever creative mindset that you have, you kind of got to put all your passion to that one thing. And I didn't realize it made me kind of socially awkward, I would say. You had to put on your ego. You guys know athletes, you have to wear that because it is part of your team spirit in a way, right? You got to kind of, and it's not to like look at anybody down or anything like that. When I learned to be a professional, and I went to school for entrepreneurship and business management because my mentors in college, when I met them, were approachable, but also my teammates. And so I had to learn to navigate certain spaces. right? As a New Yorker, that's kind of my safe space, saying who I'm from. And, everybody has a relatability aspect to them. And I will find that always that relatability. We're all humans at the end of the day, right? And so for me, I'm still learning. I'm still young enough to still make my mistakes and still learn from it. I'm not going to say I'm perfect in any way, shape, or form, but learning how to adapt, right? Learning how to be approachable, learning how to approach somebody else is always an ongoing process for me. Self-doubt is, I think we all struggle with that in some way, shape, or form, some more than others. I think a good rule of thumb, in my social emotional, like when I was studying child psychology, I learned that it takes 7 positive words to negate the effects of 1 negative word, right? 7 positive words. That means I got to build myself. I'm a champion. I'm a winner. I can do A, B, and C. I got to build myself up because when I go to school, I know somebody's going to try to clown me, try to do all that. I know I'm going to deal with a boss that probably don't like me in the same way because I rub them the wrong way, things like that. And so I build myself up every day. Like, for me, it's meditation, prayer. For me, it's reading. I read a lot. Like, it took me 10 books to finally get one book out. I read Michelle Obama's Becoming. I read Promised Land by Barack back in 2018, right? So I was reading a lot of books to believe that I was going to be an author one day. For my entrepreneurial journey, I got a track record of success. Of course, I've got more failure in my personal life because I didn't grow up with my mom, my dad, right? I didn't know my siblings till I was 25, right? All those things, that's why I had to reinvent myself to believe I'm more than just an athlete, right? I'm more than just a student, right? I'm going to be a person that's going to be a great father one day. I'm going to be a great husband one day. I'm going to be somebody that I didn't see growing up. I seen, dope boys and things like that. I seen there was a lot of gang culture, and I thought I was going to be a big homie one day, when I was a YN and all that. So to believe, to believe that I'm in that space now, I don't believe in leading with titles. Like my man said, you lead with energy. People going to feel your energy. Like when I was low, kind of, delving myself, I isolate. That's usually what people do if they, doubt in themselves too much. They isolate. Even if they're in public, people feel something's off. But now I believe, if you start your day with the right words and building yourself up, regardless of what negativity comes towards you, you're going to be able to overcome those challenges. So that's just my rule of thumb. Oh, yeah. Well, manage your time or somebody else going to manage it for you. That's essentially what it comes down to. Manage your time. Somebody else. So for me, I compartmentalize. Doesn't work for everybody. I compartmentalize. I got boxes for everything, and essentially. And we live in a world of AI now. I got virtual assistants. It helps with the business. I'm not gonna lie. It kind of helps with that. Honestly, there's sacred time for me on the spiritual side, and then there's sacred time for me just on the fun side. Like entrepreneurs, we don't clock in, clock out. You could work 18 hours a day, some days, 2 hours a day, one day, have $500,000 in the bank one day, and have nothing in the next. And I want to shout out my guy Cello. He is another entrepreneur. So I think somebody said they're into content. He does content, so you definitely connect with Cello. I met him at the basketball court. That's my fun time. I'm not a speaker, author. I'm a nobody on no basketball court. Except when I'm killing y'all, but except when I'm beating y'all. And that's essentially how I have my time for myself when it comes to that. Otherwise, honestly, something that helped me during basketball, because again, my parents didn't tell me what time to go to bed, right? Because I was in foster care, so in a group home setting. So essentially, no one was looking out for me what time I was going to eat. 15 years old, 16 years old, I had to figure out all of that by myself. And again, it allowed me to be creative. I could have been out there in the streets and all of that, doing whatever, but instead I took the time to realize I want to get out of this neighborhood. I'll come back and help them one day. I do an annual event every year. I've been doing it for 7 years at my old high school just to give back, and I do that because I let them know, even though we come up from rough beginnings and, we have creativity to solve problems in the world. And there's an issue if people who look like me aren't professionals in the world, people who look like me aren't authors in the world, people who look like me aren't represented in the media and things like that. And so for me, I focus my time strictly on what's going to put me into a specific purpose. Now, am I balanced with my time? Absolutely not. My wife would tell you, she takes his laptop to bed. She got to pry it out my hand sometimes because I'm still, compensating for those times that I feel like I wasted time when I was out there in the streets doing what it is that, YN's doing, things like that. Everybody who I grew up with, none of them got a college degree. I wasn't raised by families that graduated from high school. And so me at 30, and I knew those are my, my mother's kids, and so it is challenging in the sense to I have survivor's remorse. I'm in therapy for moments like that, where it's like the best way for me to help my neighborhood was to leave it. That's why I go back and I empower them and I show them books and I do my annual alumni game and I show positivity. Then I come back to the Bay Area and I'm coaching him. I'm a coach, I'm a trainer. And I take this positive energy and I go back to the neighborhood because Staten Island has a certain cloud on it. And it's because of post 9/11, the debris kind of was put on Staten Island. So it's a really dark cloud, and we always have discussions as young professionals in that particular borough about it. But I connected with I have a brother that lives here as well, and connected with him, and he kind of told me to like branch off, get out of the New York mindset, come out here, get a little bit more creative, be flexible and things like that. Now I have a new core, like you said, a new core, but I'm still holding on to that side because, you know, when you can't forget the people who raised you no matter what. It's just, I can't love you the same, but I'm going to still love you in a different way. The best way I love you is love you from a distance. But like I said, when it's time to slide, I know who to call. So.